Welcome to the first video in the From Scratch series. In these videos we'll go over the single feature within a Metro application, and we'll start from a brand new solution so you understand all of the pieces required to get a small piece of functionality working within a Metro application. You should be able to then take this knowledge and adapt it to your own Metro application. The first set I'm going to go through is understanding settings within an application. So today I'm going to go ahead and create a new project here. And I'm going to create a, I'm going to call it settings from scratch. So we're going to get a blank Metro application. I can go ahead and run it. Make sure everything works. Make sure there's no issues. And I have a black screen. First thing I'm going to do then is change it from a black screen so that way when I do my settings, I can differentiate where they're actually showing up on the screen. So main page. I'm going to change my background brush here. I'm going to change the background brush to be a gradient, and there we go. So at least I can see the difference going on there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start in the application startup, and we're going to wire up the settings pane. So we're going to do settings pane dot get for current view dot commands requested, and we're going to add an event handler for that. And this is going to handle the event when the application requests the commands that are available. So the first thing we're going to do is create a new command. So args.request application commands, add, and a new settings command. Oh, look at that. Alright, so then the ID for the settings command, so I'm just going to call this hello world. And this next one is the label, so the label is going to be my hello world settings. And my method, I'm going to implement a method here. Okay, and just to test this first, we're going to just do a message dialog. So we're going to go new message dialog. New message dialog with hello world. Oops. Okay, let's save. Oops. Save and run this. And run this. And when we run it, there's nothing on the screen. You can hit Windows key I to get your settings to pop up. You'll see hello world settings is showing up there. I can click it, and nothing happened. Oh, well, you know what I could do? I could actually show the dialog. Let's try that again. Go ahead and run it, and look at that. There's our hello world. Well, that's great if you want to show a message box. Really not useful from a settings pane. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually change this up a bit to actually use a XAML page. So I'm going to add a new view here to my project. So I'm going to add a new item. I'm just going to do a basic page here, so I get the button and everything. It's going to yell at me, hey, there's some dependencies that haven't been added. I'll just add them automatically. So this is your common layout pages, your application pages. So that'll take a second here to load all those files up. And while it's doing that, alright, load that up. It's giving me some errors. I just have to basically compile once we're here real quick. Get rid of the errors. And everything should run again. Yep, everything runs. Okay, good. Let's close that out. And so now this is kind of big here for settings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. So let me grab this guy. I'm going to shrink him down to better size. Maybe I'm going to grab these two guys. Change their font to be 20. Of course that messes up placement on everything. I'm going to move things around a little bit. Zoom back in now that I have less space. Clean that up just a little bit. Align that just there a little bit. Okay, and maybe we want to say change this to be instead of the app name, we want it to actually be just text. So okay, and we'll just add a button on here just to something to show. Move that guy down there into the main area. Alright, so now we have this nice little XAML here. Now, a couple things I'm going to do here real quick. I'm going to actually set his width to 346, which is the same width as that settings panel, just to make it nice and to make the transition between the two nice. I'm going to right align it, and I'm going to leave it horizontal, stretched vertically, so that way it stretches to the correct height. I'm going to get rid of my margin, so now it should be all the way over here on the right. Yes, it is. Perfect. Now I'm going to go back to my app XAML. Yes, and instead of this message box, now I'm going to create a pop-up. So I'm going to go for pop-up, new pop-up. So you can add event handlers in here for closed event, for reactivation events that you can handle different things when the pop-up's shown. You might want to load some data from, or when the pop-up's closed, maybe you want to refresh some data on the screen to reflect the changes that happen. I'm not going to bother wiring those up for this simple example. So I'm going to set it like dismissed, so that way anytime they click away from it, it'll just go away. So we don't have to have a close button. We're going to have, so now we're going to get an instance of our basic page, which is our settings. So yeah, basic page 1, not a great name, but page equals new basic page 1. We're going to set a few variables here. So we're going to set the page height, the window height. So we're going to set the width. We don't have to set the width because we set that actually in the XAML. And we're going to go ahead and set the pop-up's width, 346. And we're going to make sure it's aligned properly. We're going to set the canvas left property is to the window.current.bound.width minus 346. I should probably put that into a variable, so I'm not using 346 everywhere, but you get the idea. I'm going to set the top property to 0, just to make sure it doesn't go off the screen. I am then this is the very important part, that child equals page. So what basically I'm saying, his child is going to be our basic page 1. So that gives us, that wires that up, so that way the pop-up's child page is actually the XAML that we want to use. And then we're going to go pop-up is open. And if I typed everything correctly, when we bring up our settings, look at that, perfect. So now our settings are wired up, they're good to go, but wait, our back button doesn't work. Alright, so let's wire that up. So, let's go back to main page here, let's go back to our basic page, and we're going to go ahead and on the button tapped event, we're going to go ahead and wire this up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get the parent pop up. So we're going to, parent is this dot parent. So oops. Make sure trap against a null reference exception here. If parent's not equal to null, we're actually going to close the parent. Then we're going to go ahead and show the settings page if we're not snapped. So instead of typing all of this out, I'm going to just go ahead and copy and paste real quick here. Boom. So we're going to say if the Windows View Management value is not snapped, then show the settings page, and we'll go ahead and include the using on that, and go ahead and run it. Let's see if that works now. Windows key I, hello world settings, back button, look at that, settings come back, perfect. Everything feels wired up now, and that's your basic usage of settings within a Metro application.